Now, an Albanian criminal who sneaked back into Britain after being deported has won the right to stay in this country under the European Convention on Human Rights.
What else? Well, Arjit Binaj was freed 6 months into a 2.5-year jail sentence for burglary. He was deported as part of a prisoner transfer agreement with Albania.
But he came back to Britain to be with his Lithuanian girlfriend, and now he's staying here as he has a right to a family life. His girlfriend has had a baby and he has subsequently married her.
Well, joining us to discuss this is the international security and border control expert, Henry Bolton, OBE. Henry, should we be surprised at this? I mean, this is a family of 3. There's a baby who was born in this country, there's a mother who has a right to be in this country, and a father who does not have the right to be in this country. But because of the other 2, now he does have a right to be in this country. I mean, that's sort of what the ECHR says.
Indeed, Tom. First of all, no, we shouldn't be surprised at this. The latest figures that I've got, 2023, there were 4,000 foreign national criminals who were deported. Now, bear in mind that if you cooperate with the programme for removals whilst you're serving in jail, you can leave up to 18 months before you've served your sentence, and you can be paid £1,500 resettlement grant to cooperate with going back to your country. So yeah, that's number one. But number 2, there were 11,800 people who were supposed to be deported, but because the Home Office had not got its act together, logistically or administratively, instead of being deported, those foreign national criminals were released back into the public, if you like. And, you know, so they're still floating around, as far as I know. There's 11,800 of those. So there's no surprise that we've got a problem. And it's not all down to the ECHR. Some of it's down to, a large part of it is down to the inefficiencies of the Home Office. But yes, the ECHR enables criminals to play the game, to sort of to game the system. In this case, for example, an individual marries a woman who's got the right to stay here, has a child by her. Now, I don't know their domestic situation, of course I don't, but it leaves open the ability or the possibility that hardened criminals are actually abusing vulnerable people in such a way. I'm not suggesting that's the case in this situation. I just don't know. But of course, if you can, claim that you've settled down with somebody and had a child with somebody, whether you have any intention of that relationship continuing or not, you've bypassed the system because there is this right to family life. Now, I believe that when somebody comes into this country illegally or legally, they should be required to sign a document that demonstrates that they have been briefed and that they understand that should they, in the event of committing a crime or being found guilty of committing a crime of a certain level, then they will be deported. Whether they serve their sentence beforehand or not, they will be deported. And they understand that, and they have no rights. But to do that, we have to leave the ECHR. It has an article, Article 8, which means that what I've just suggested is not possible legally.
An Albanian criminal who sneaked back into Britain after being deported, well, he's won the right to stay under the European Convention on Human Rights.
Yes, Arjit Binaj was freed 6 months ago into a 2.5-year jail sentence for burglary and deported as part of a prisoner transfer agreement with Albania.
But he came back to Britain to be with his Lithuanian girlfriend, and now, married, he is staying here as he apparently has a right to a family life. OK.
Well, joining us now to discuss this is a human rights lawyer, Dr. Shoaib Khan. And firstly of all, Shoaib, this is someone who entered the country illegally twice and now can stay. Is this not just a green light to anyone who enters the country illegally? You know, hook up with a girlfriend and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, well, I guess it depends on how you, how you treat family life or how you treat, I mean, the whole point is it's not just about a girlfriend. Obviously, they're married now, she's a wife. But secondly, they have a son. The point is, yes, he committed a crime. He was in his 20s. He went to prison for it. He was released early under a legal scheme, under a treaty agreement that the UK British government had signed. So he did nothing, so he completed his time there. And now, if he has a son, then I don't see why he should be, or particularly why should this son, the baby, be deprived of being able to live with his father now?
I mean, Shoaib, the ECHR is disproportionately helping people who come to this country and commit crimes, isn't it? Some are calling it a charter for criminals now.
No, of course it's not. I mean, and that's the whole point. You know, we were just talking in the previous segment about freedom of speech, right to fair trial. There's so many other things. Obviously, that's what the ECHR does. The point is that most of those times, I mean, in fact, without naming names, but, you know, so many times, so many politicians, when they do get in a bit of a pickle, let's say, it is human rights law that they go for. So many media personalities, so many, you know, right-wing media channels, newspapers, and so on. So whenever there are some problems, then it is human rights that they go for. ECHR, Human Rights Act. That is what they're, and that is the whole point. They're here for all of us. They are here
Isn't
for all
there a
of us. And that's the
difference
thing.
here, Shoaib? I mean, in some countries, like the United States of America, for example, you've got a Bill of Rights that is a list of restrictions on what the government can do. That's very clear. The government shall not infringe upon your right to do X, Y, or Z. In the European sphere, instead, we have all of these positive rights, these things that the government must do for you. These are impositions upon the individual rather than freedoms for the individual. It's a completely inverted way at looking at rights. And so what we have here is two non-citizens, one who entered twice to this country illegally, have a child in this country who now has the positive right to free education paid for by the taxpayer, to all of these services that people can expect in this country. Is this not an inverted way at looking at rights compared to how, for example, traditionally British people would look at rights or how Americans do today?
No, because I mean, obviously there are positive rights on this, and in fact there are under most rights charters. But this isn't, in fact, even a positive right. The point is that they are a family. They have a baby. They're in the UK. The government should not separate them, and that's what the government is prohibited from being done.
Shoaib, do you actually believe that anyone who arrives in this country illegally, who has a prison sentence, who then leaves the country and comes back in, makes a woman pregnant who also isn't British, should just be allowed to stay in this country because of their human rights? I mean, does that not just send an incentive that we do?
What do you mean makes a woman pregnant? It's a married couple who are having a baby. I mean, for anyone else, you know, would be celebrating.
But neither party are British, and one entered illegally.
I mean, the wife, she's a Lithuanian national, and she came here under EU right to freedom when she was able to do that. So there was free movement rights, and lots of Brits went abroad, married European citizens. And so you say, oh, here's a non-Spanish person having a baby in Spain. Here's a non-French person having a baby. But they're British. They were European. They were allowed to do that.
But there's an illegal migrant here. I mean, we had, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of legal migrants come to this country over the course of the last year. I think it was gross, maybe perhaps 800,000 or something like that in the last 12 months. You would have thought that if someone wanted to come to this country, had something to offer to come to this country, given the historically high levels of legal migration, they could do so legally.
Firstly, I mean, to be honest, that is, I mean, yes, if you want to come here as a student, if you want to come as a worker, that is, you know, relatively easier to do. If you want to come here to join family, that is very, very hard to do. I mean, even look at the spouse visa, you know, the income threshold used to be 19,000, now it's gone up to 30,000. So many women, I mean, essentially, if you have your husband living abroad, you're basically a single mother bringing up children. You can't work full time, you can't earn 30,000. And those women can never legally be joined by their husbands then. And that's the whole point. If we did away with that, then yes, of course, you might have a point, and we could say there are so many legal routes. Then why do people have to sneak into why did this person have to sneak into the UK to be with his girlfriend?
Well, clearly you don't believe there's any such thing as an illegal migrant, Shoaib. I mean,
sorry?
I'm sorry, he was illegally here when he fathered a child.
Girlfriend. The girlfriend was here legally.
And a lot of people will be watching this. A lot of people will be watching this and saying, well, why doesn't he take his girlfriend to Albania? But apparently the ECHR said that she might not get appropriate healthcare over there.
Yes,
so
exactly.
now we're responsible for Albania's healthcare provision. I mean, it is crazy.
What we are responsible for is a Lithuanian woman, and as far as I can see, even GB News, others have been reporting that she suffers from serious depression. So if she's a seriously depressed woman, she's had a baby, we shouldn't either separate the family, or we shouldn't first go to, why should she go to Albania? What's Albania got to do with the Lithuanian woman? That's the whole point. They met in the UK, they got married here, they had a baby here. The UK is their home now. It doesn't matter what the colour of their passport. What's Albania got to do with the Lithuanian woman? Why should the family just uproot and go to Albania? I just don't understand.
If someone comes here on holiday and has a baby, are they automatically British?
No, they're not. That's the whole point. They weren't.
But this person was illegally here.
Yes, when he was here for 10 years, she's been here I don't know how long. They've had a baby together. They want to start a family in the UK. I mean, why
Okay.
should the Lithuanian woman go to Albania?